we have Miss Destiny DeJesus. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Vegan food activist from the brand Eat Your Destiny.
Thank you. Can y'all hear me? Thumbs up?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Cool. Yes, my name is Destiny DeJesus. I run a brand called Eat Your Destiny, where I teach people how to be vegan on a budget, but specifically teaching them how to go food shopping. So I travel around the US, even sometimes international, and go to different supermarkets and show people that you can be vegan and you don't have to spend $100, even $50 a week to feed yourself. A lot of times I go to the store and I spend like $25 and I feed me and my wife for a whole week, and we have delicious, nutritious, and very easy to make vegan food. So today I'm going to be making a very quick meal. I'm making some tomato soup along with a vegan grilled cheese. Because we're doing this in like 20 minutes, I have some that's like almost prepared to show you all, but I just wanted to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about being vegan on a budget, and just, you know, debunking the myth that being vegan and eating a plant-based diet is expensive, because I think that's one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people, you know, decide not to go vegan, because they think they're going to be spending a lot of money. So I'm here to tell you that that is not true. And I'm going to walk you through all the ingredients, tell you a little bit about myself and what it is that I do, and then we're going to get cooking. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you what I have in front of me. I have a bunch of stuff. I'm going to just bring it down here for a second. I have a red bell pepper. I have 3 huge tomatoes. I have some garlic. I love garlic. I cook with garlic and onion every single day. I buy onions in huge bags. Sometimes the bags cost like $1.50 to $2, and I will go through it in like a week and a half. I have a bunch of spices that I will go through, but the most important are obviously salt and pepper, garlic powder, onion powder. I have thyme, basil, Italian seasonings. Seasoning is everything when you're cooking. I don't know what happens when people go vegan. They just think that the food is bland. And I'm like, no, like, you season your tofu and your mushrooms the same way you would season your piece of chicken or your piece of steak. You know, like, nothing changes when it comes to seasoning. So remember that. I also have some coconut milk that I'll be using today. This is kind of a luxury item, I call, but this is just some vegan chicken powder. It tastes just like chicken. I buy it from my local Asian store, obviously in bulk. I think this whole thing maybe costs like $10, but I use this all the time. This is like an essential in my house. I have this huge basil plant because I could not find just like a small thing of basil to show you all today. But the great thing is that when you buy you know, herbs in the plant form, you're able to repot them and just like continuously grow them. So that is another like budget saving tip. And then for the grilled cheese, I'm just going to be using some vegan butter. There are so many different types of vegan butter out there. You can also make your own vegan butter using aquafaba, which is the liquid that comes in the chickpea can. A lot of people don't know like that you can use that liquid, but that can actually be made into butter. So that's really cool. I have a bunch of different vegan cheese options here. I'll kind of walk you through those when we are making the grilled cheese. But these are just store-bought. I don't make my own cheese slices, but I know like some fancy vegans do that. So shout out to them because I'm not one of those. I have some vegan Parmesan cheese to put on top of the tomato soup at the end, but I also am going to show you an alternative that you can make at home that's a little bit healthier. And then lastly, I just have some Texas toast. 9 times out of 10, the bread that comes in a bag at your local supermarket is going to be vegan, unless it's like baked in the back of the supermarket. Sometimes they add eggs or milk or something like that. But honestly, all the bread that I've ever had in my life, even growing up, has been accidentally vegan. So, all right, we're going to get started by just preparing the stuff for the tomato soup. So I'm going to bring this down. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself while I am doing this. So I have been vegan now going on for almost 4 years. My vegan anniversary is next month. So I've been doing this for a while now. And I think in the beginning, I didn't know what I was doing. You know, it was really hard for me to transition because I didn't know any vegan people. For me, you know, growing up as a Puerto Rican and Cuban person, I just felt like veganism was for white people and I didn't see representation in the community. So it was really hard for me to just like learn what to cook. And it actually took a couple years for me to adjust to making vegan food, you know, because when you grow up eating chicken and steak and burgers and hot dogs and that being the primary, you know, thing on your plates, you kind of go through this phase where you're like, what do I eat? You know, if I'm not having chicken on my plate, what do I eat? So it took a while for me to, you know, really start to love cooking. And now I cook all the time. I actually host cooking demos as like a side hustle. And I really enjoy it. I love teaching people how to make easy vegan meals because it does not have to be hard. So I'm just chopping up some tomatoes, putting it on a pan to throw in the oven. But I just wanted to share that when you're cooking, I think the worst thing about cooking is the fact that you have to clean up after. Like, it's so annoying. By the time I finish cleaning up, I don't even want to eat anymore, you know? So I like to keep a little bowl next to me and just throw all of the scraps in there so that when I'm done, I can either like throw it in a compost. I don't currently have a compost, but if you do, that's amazing. You can throw it in a bag to freeze so that you can make a veggie broth, or you can just trash it if that's what you want to do. So if you see me throwing things in this little bowl, it's because that's just, you know, my tip for keeping your kitchen clean. All right, so we have 3 huge tomatoes on the baking tray. I'm just gonna chop up this whole bell pepper. Obviously, I'm taking out all the seeds that are inside of the bell pepper. And you can save those seeds actually and, you know, plant them. You can grow your own food at home. I tried, but currently I'm living in Vegas, Nevada, and it is so hot here that growing things in the desert is really hard. So if you're able to, you know, garden or just plot something on your windowsill, that's amazing. All right, so this doesn't have to be, you know, you don't have to chop it into anything special. I'm just like throwing it like chunks on the baking tray. And there's a bunch of different ways you can make tomato soup. You can do this in one pot and just kind of use like an immersion blender at the end to mix it up. Or you can use like a can of tomatoes if you're in a rush, or if that's what is accessible to you. There's no judgment here. You do what works for you. But I happen to have some fresh tomatoes in my refrigerator, so that's the route that I'm going. All righty, so almost done chopping up this whole bell pepper. I love roasted red peppers, so this is going to add a really rich flavor to our tomato soup. Okay, so this is what my baking tray is looking like so far. And the last 2 things that we're gonna add to this are just some onion and garlic. If you don't eat onion and garlic, like, start eating it today. Just try, because honestly, it brings so much flavor to any dish. Like I said earlier, I use this pretty much in everything. I make rice and beans and I put onions and garlic in it. I saute vegetables with onion and garlic. I make soups with onion and garlic. Like, it's just a staple in our house. And I feel like it should be in everybody's home. Alrighty. So again, you don't really have to chop it up into anything fancy. You're just gonna throw it on the baking tray. These are my favorite types of meals to make, ones that, you know, they don't have to look cute because it's just me throwing everything in a blender at the end. So works for me. Alrighty. Cool. Does anybody have any questions about vegan cooking? I'm definitely here to answer any questions about that. Okay. Also, another tip is that when you're cooking with garlic, you can actually leave the skin on your garlic. You can actually eat the skin of the garlic. Some people take it off and roast it and make like garlic chips. I have never tried that, but I've seen several recipes doing that. So, you know, if you want to make this a little bit more zero waste, you can definitely keep the skins on for your garlic. I can share, maybe I'll email Roberta like a recipe for that, but it looks pretty good. there's a lot of things that I've learned since going vegan when it comes to just food in general. I think before going vegan, I was very ignorant to the fact that there are different types of fruits and vegetables out there. You know, I grew up eating apples and oranges and maybe strawberries and bananas, but now I've realized that there are like 20 different types of tomatoes and oranges and apples. So there's so many different things that you can explore within the kitchen, you know, and I think that's something that brings a lot of joy into my life, just being able to experiment with my food, you know. And then, you know, I think people were talking about this before I jumped on, but just like the health benefits of eating a plant-based lifestyle, it's insane. I went vegan for health reasons almost 4 years ago. I was living in Dallas, Texas at the time. And, you know, Texas is a place where people eat a very meat heavy diet. And it's funny to me that I transitioned to a vegan lifestyle while living there, because I never would have thought that. But I did it because I realized that there was a correlation between the food I was eating out there and how my body was reacting. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a second, but let me just show you what this is looking like. Super easy. I'm just gonna take this moment to season everything because like I said, seasoning is everything. And so I have some salt. I'm just using regular salt. I honestly buy my seasonings from the Dollar Tree. Now the $1.25 tree, it's, y'all know what happened with Dollar Tree. It's no longer $1, but I mean, $1.25 for seasoning is still very good. So I'm using some salt. My garlic powder and onion powder are also staples in this vegan kitchen. We use them every single day. I actually buy them in bulk at a store near me called Winco. I know stores like Whole Foods have things in bulk. So wherever you can find bulk spices, I definitely recommend buying them that way because, you know, use spices every single day. Might as well save money when it comes to them. I also am going to use some black pepper. This is just some regular ground pepper. And then the last things I'm going to be using are just herbs. So I have Italian seasoning, which is essentially just like basil, oregano, thyme. I'm just going to add a lot of that. You can add some oil on top if you want now, but I think it's unnecessary because the tomatoes have a lot of juice in them. So we don't really need to do that. And what I'm going to do is just throw this in the oven, but I already have one that's out of the oven. So you can kind of do that switch. All right. So this is the one that I baked a little bit earlier. I put it in the oven for around 40 minutes at 350. So you just put it in there, you let it do what it has to do, and then you take it out. And all I'm gonna do right now is blend it. So I don't have a fancy blender. I literally just have like, I mean, it's a Ninja, but it was also a gift, so it was free for me. But if you have like a magic bullet from Walmart that's like, I don't know, $10 to $12, you can also use that. You know, you might have to do it in batches, but you don't have to buy like a super expensive blender. I think a lot of times when I'm following vegan recipes, people are just using like very expensive equipment. And I'm like, that's not necessary, you know? So we're just gonna throw the roasted tomatoes, bell peppers, onion, and garlic in the blender. And then to blend it up, I'm gonna be using a little bit of my vegan chicken broth just to give it some flavor. If you don't have that, that's totally fine. You can use veggie broth. You can just use water. You can use a plant-based milk if you wanna make it a little bit more creamy. So I think I'm going to add a little bit of the chicken broth and then like a splash of coconut milk. Now, when I first went vegan, I didn't really like coconut milk because I felt like it was, you know, it had like a powerful coconut flavor. But I think over time, I just have, you know, become used to it. And I buy like unsweetened coconut milk now. So it's definitely helpful. All right, so everything is in the blender. I'm going to take some of my chicken broth and I can send the recipe at the end to anybody who is interested in like making this at home. I'm just going to take a teaspoon of the chicken broth. I'll also add a link to this because I think they sell this on Amazon. I'm telling you, it's a game changer. I make vegan chicken noodle soup with this as well. I'm gonna add some water to this from my filter.
Destiny, is there a particular brand for the vegan chicken broth that you use?
Yes, let me see. So this is called, honestly, what is it called? It's called Total. I don't know if anybody wants to like take a screenshot of this. I can send a picture and a link to it at the end. But there's also like Better Than Bouillon has a vegan chicken broth and a vegan, I think, like beef stock as well. So you can use that. Or if you want, I think the easiest thing is to get like dried mushrooms and just boil them in some water and you make your like mushroom broth. Mushroom has so much flavor. If you don't like mushrooms, you should try them in 2022. Okay, so this is what the blender is looking like. I'm gonna add a splash of coconut milk. I just put it in this little mason jar to store it in my refrigerator. I think that's good. And then if we need more, we can add it. And now I'm just going to blend it. I think what I'm going to do is go on mute because my blender is loud, but if anybody has questions, definitely add them in the chat and I can respond once this is done. It's gonna take maybe like 1 minute, but I wanna save your ears.
Destiny, was there a specific setting that you blended it on? Was it puree or?
Honestly, no, I just blended it with the regular setting and I don't even think that was a minute, but it's already nice and creamy. So this is done. I'm going to put it in a nice soup bowl and then we can decorate it, make it pretty. And then this is done. And then we'll move on to the grilled cheese. I don't know if I missed any questions, but okay, cool. So I just have this nice soup bowl. I'm going to pour this in. This looks so good. I'm hungry. All right, so this is what it's looking like. Let me see if I can kind of bring it down. Just regular tomato soup made with love. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of coconut milk on top. Make it look fancy, but also add a little bit more of creaminess to the dish. And then I'm going to take a piece of basil, maybe 2 pieces, roll it up, and then just slice it so that we can add it on top of the soup. If you don't like basil, you can leave this out. I just think that basil adds a really nice flavor to the dish. You can also add the basil into the blender when you are blending it, but I think it's cool to kind of top it with the basil. And then I'm gonna add some black pepper because I like mine a little bit spicy. Cool. I'm gonna show you a close-up of this. Oops, I don't know if y'all can see, but this is what the tomato soup is looking like. It's very hearty and great for the winter, but you know, if you want to eat it in the summer, you can do that as well. All right, I'm gonna clean up my station, and then we're gonna get started on the grilled cheese. This is so easy, but I wanted to take a moment to show you all how to melt vegan cheese, because I know a lot of people kind of struggle with that. You know, like vegan cheese is kind of a hit or miss sometimes, but there are some tricks that you can do to make sure that your cheese actually melts. Okay, so I'm gonna be using my griddle just so that y'all can see it a little bit better. Move everything to the side. My griddle is probably one of my favorite cooking tools or kitchen appliances. That and my air fryer. Sometimes I can go a whole day with making breakfast, lunch, and dinner in my air fryer. So if you are able to purchase an air fryer or make that investment, I would totally recommend it. I've seen them actually at the Family Dollar for like $25 if you check out there to buy your air fryer. Okay, so I have my griddle in front of me. I think I got this from Amazon for like $20, so it's a pretty affordable kitchen appliance. I'm gonna be using this Texas toast bread. I actually just noticed that it says vegan friendly, which is awesome. But another tip when cooking vegan in your kitchen is to always read ingredients, because a lot of brands have actually, you know, been under fire because of the fact that they say vegan on their packaging, but then they actually have some type of animal product in their food. So sometimes it might say vegan, but you can see that there's like milk powder or even eggs and things like that. I think a lot of companies are still trying to learn what exactly veganism is. So always read your labels. That's something that I learned throughout my vegan journey. So this is actually a great example of that. This is a butter by the brand Smart Balance. Usually people buy Earth Balance, which is like the vegan butter that like everybody knows, but this is actually vegan as well. So make sure that you look in your supermarket, see what things are actually vegan friendly, and go for the cheaper option, because why not, you know? Okay, so I'm gonna add probably like a tablespoon of vegan butter. I prefer my grilled cheese to be not crunchy, but you know, buttery on the outside and nice and I guess like crispy. So we're gonna add some butter, and then I'm gonna show you the cheese that I'm using. So vegan cheese is a hit or miss. You either love it or you hate it. I think when I first went vegan in 2018, the cheese options were there, but they were also limited, right? Like I think we had diet cheese, and it was not good. It was not good at all, and it kind of turned me off when it came to vegan cheese. But you know, over the years, there have been so many companies coming out with vegan cheese that we have so many options at this point. So you just kind of have to try them all and see which ones that you prefer. So I'm just moving the butter around my griddle so that I can put a couple pieces of bread on here. And I'm gonna show you the ones that I have in front of me. So this one is called Chow Cheese. This one I've seen around at most grocery stores. It is a little bit pricey, so I typically don't buy this one. I think the most affordable vegan cheese out there is diet cheese. It usually is around $3.99 to $4.99 depending on where you're at. But if you think about it, if you're buying like salmon and chicken and turkey and cow's cheese, like that adds up as well. So I think, you know, spending a little bit more money on vegan cheese that you like is not a problem. You know, the one that I'm going to be using today is actually non-traditional when it comes to making a grilled cheese, but this is from the brand Viven, and this is their pepper jack cheese. I like it because it has definitely a kick in it. I have some that's already been opened, so I'm going to be using some pepper jack today. Typically people use like American cheese when it comes to grilled cheese, but you do you. If you want to add vegan chicken in this, you could do that. Like grilled cheese, you have so many different options. So this is what the cheese looks like. It has like little pepper flakes in there. And here's a little trick. It might seem weird, but vegan cheese really needs to be heated up. So I like to just kind of like throw it on the griddle put it in some butter, and kind of set it aside for a moment. And then we're gonna put the bread on, and that'll kind of help with melting the cheese. I probably should have put the bread on first, but it's okay, y'all. Alrighty, so I'm not gonna use the end. I'm gonna use 2 big pieces. Get them nice and buttery, flip them over. And then I'm gonna kind of melt the other side of the cheese. Throw it on the bread. And we're gonna let this heat up for a little bit. I'm gonna obviously put more than 1 slice of cheese. So you can see it's getting really melty on the sides. So that's that. I'm gonna do 1 more. Oops, I kind of broke that one, but it's okay. Okay. And so now I'm just gonna flip the bread on top of it, and we're gonna, you know, the heat from this this buttery side is going to help melt the cheese a little bit more. I've also seen people put like a glass bowl on, or like, you know, an oven safe bowl on top of the griddle and put a little bit of water to kind of steam the cheese. But I find this way to just be easier and faster for me. So this is how I do it. And I'm just gonna press it down. Texas toast is very thick. So if you prefer like a thinner sandwich, you can use regular white bread, you can use wheat bread, any type of bread that you prefer. And like I said before, a lot of times bread from your local supermarket is already vegan. So just make sure that you read the labels. Oh y'all, I forgot to add my Parmesan cheese to my tomato soup. So I'll just add this to the top of the tomato soup. But I guess I can take this second to tell you a little bit about this homemade vegan Parmesan while my grilled cheese is melting. So while it's cooking. So this is my homemade vegan Parmesan cheese. It's actually made from Brazil nuts. Brazil nuts are really good for your health. I try to buy them in bulk because they are pretty expensive. Sometimes they can be $14.99 for a pound. So you really need to find your supermarket that you prefer. I've seen them at Asian stores that are pretty cheap. So I usually buy it like that. I spend maybe $10 on like, you know, a bag of them, and I blend them up with some nutritional yeast. I also add salt, pepper, garlic powder, just the basics when it comes to seasoning your food. And it comes out like a nice crumble and tastes very cheesy. So nutritional yeast is, I guess like every vegan knows what nutritional yeast is, but it's basically, I'm sorry, I'm trying to put this on my thing. So nutritional yeast is very good for adding cheesy flavors to your dishes. So if I make a grilled cheese, sometimes I'll throw some nutritional yeast on the bread, or if I'm making mac and cheese, I throw nutritional yeast in the cheese to make it, you know, more cheesy. So I think if there's something that you want to try in 2022, definitely pick up some nutritional yeast. You can find it at Walmart. You can find it on Amazon. It's pretty accessible nowadays. So definitely try that out. Okay, so my grilled cheese is looking pretty good. I'm gonna turn off the heat. The griddle heats up really fast, so that's a good thing. And I'm gonna plate this and cut it open and show you all what it looks like. Okay. Whoops. Okay, so this is what my grilled cheese is. Ooh, I don't know if y'all can really see, but this is what my grilled cheese is looking like. definitely going to go really well with the tomato soup. So what I like to do is just dip it in my tomato soup and just eat it that way. But you can also make grilled cheese as a meal in itself. So that's all I have for you all. I'm here to answer any questions if you have any. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you want to try out this recipe, I'll definitely send the measurements and stuff.
Thank you so much, Destiny. You got me over here struggling. I'm hungry. I'm ready to eat. This is not helping. There was a question. Would it be better to briefly place the cheese flat on the grill for a few seconds?
Yeah, I've tried that before, but trying to get it up, like off of the grill is kind of hard. Like it might stick to it. So I kind of try to like shimmy it a little bit on all four corners and do it that way.
Yeah.
You can try it that way though, if you want.
Very practical tips. I really appreciate just looking at the back of the bread and seeing if it has meat in it or meat products in it. What was in the glass jar? That's another question.
This is homemade vegan Parmesan cheese made with Brazil nuts. I can also send a recipe for this as well.
Please, that was the expensive
yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Destiny. Miss Destiny DeJesus, vegan food activist from the brand